All right, this will be warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 2024, part 116A. And again, I'll do the warning. So I'll apologize again for my language and the yelling, but just seeing what's going on, I've come to realize some things. And first, let me explain why I say you'll see the Chinese on our shores, on our western shores, I think within 30 years. Maybe a lot sooner. And I'm no representative of the Baha'i faith. I know the things I've read. I believe in the Bab and Baha'u'llah are who they say they are. And I've got a lot to learn. A lot of people have a lot to learn about their humanity and religion and their perceptions of other peoples and other cultures and stuff like this. All that kind of stuff, good stuff, that we're all leaves of the same tree. We're all God's creatures on one earth, and we're all under one God who has sent messengers to the whole earth. All religions are started out based on what those messengers taught, and people have gone astray. And I have no doubt there'll be more who go astray, even with the new revelations, because that's just the way mankind is. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I won't go astray. I'm still learning a lot of things. But one of the things I learned was one of the followers, and I forget if I read this off a blog or if it was an official site or what it was. So if I'm wrong about this, Baha'is out there, please forgive me. But one of the early followers, and I believe it was Shoghi Effendi, I'm not sure. Anyway, this quote I read he said that China was the nation of the future. Now, why would that be? With all our advancement, all our faiths, all our beliefs in God, now I don't know if that means that they're going to be some kind of supremacy or rule the earth or anything like that, but they would be the nation of the future. And what I come to seeing what's going on is the decline of Western civilization. And the lack of people to number one, believe in God or to have any spiritual inclinations, and then also those who do have spiritual inclinations, such as Farrakhan, Reverend Wright, and others, Hughes, and the Black Israelites, and others. And there's people on, the Ku Klux Klan have their own interpretation of the Bible too. But their use of their religion to divide people, even between different faiths, between Christianity and Islam has done it to divide Muslims from Christians also. I see that going on, and I also see the immense immorality, and even if it's not immoral, I see the immense self-absorption with the material things of this world and this world. Everything's about entertainment, whether you know you want to consider sports. I consider sports entertainment. People are self-absorbed with all these types of things. It can be music, it can be sports, it can be whatever. And they don't seek anything else outside of this physical world. They're self-absorbed with their video games, with movies and movie stars, and music stars, and football stars and basketball stars. So involved with this life, they've forgotten their creator, and they've forgotten the next life. They're more worried about if they can do drugs legally, you know, have any kind of sex they want to. And you have the politicians doing everything they can in their power to break up the family. Take prayer out of schools. You took 10 Commandments out of schools. And so that's why I can see China becoming the dominant player in the world. Because Western civilization has forgotten their creator, and they're too busy having a good time. Especially these younger generations right now have no idea about their own American history. They have no idea about the founding of this country. I'll tell you what, whether you're on the left or the right, whatever you are, whatever you consider yourself, tell you what, here's what you start with. You start with the 7 Years' Wars in Europe. And for those of you in the Christian faith, I want you to remember this: wars and the rumors of wars. All right, then go study the 7 Years' War. I want you to remember this too: brother will rise up against brother. And then study the Civil War. And remember, he said, he will come like a thief in the night. You're waiting for some big grandiose return and everything that the preachers tell you. It's not what Jesus taught. Like a thief in the night, when knowledge is increased and he'd be called by another name. So you go back and you start with the 7 Years' Wars. It's actually the First World War. WW2 was actually WW3 in Armageddon. But knowing those things, go back and just, you know, learn about that, and then also learn about, in this country, the Great Depression, our involvement in the wars, and look at each, you know, segment on how our society, whether you break it down in decades or, you know, half centuries or whatever you want to do, quarter centuries. Whenever we've gotten involved in unjust wars, whenever we have done things to destroy this organized civilization, and right now you can see it with people already in the streets over the election. You know, if Trump does pull this out, these people are going to be out in the streets doing the same, you know, crap they've been doing all this year. Our system was set up to be a civilized nation. Where everything was done fairly, where the people who counted the votes and ran the election processes were neutral and made sure the laws were obeyed, the votes were counted, and a winner declared instead of a bunch of shenanigans. And then once that winner was declared, that's it. We all went back to work the next day, everything. Oh, well, somebody else, I don't like it, but, you know, I don't remember, you know, too many times. I'm going to be 56. I don't remember too many times when somebody got elected that, you know, half the country went and rioted because they didn't like the result. You know, that and, you know, at the drop of a hat, you know, some skewed or half of a video of a police engaging somebody and having to use their weapons, and all of a sudden it's time to go rob. It's time to go destroy property and steal, and then you wonder why there's no jobs in your neighborhood. So I can see our civilization breaking down. More and more of these states making more drugs legal, more of the politicians pandering to every bad idea under the sun. More politicians, you know, just putting their hands in their pockets. Hey, we're going to subsidize this, we're going to subsidize that, we're going to give welfare, and the more kids they have, the more welfare we'll give them. And then they don't pay taxes, but their kids get to go to school for free. That's another thing. You keep hearing about all this college debt and everything. You know something? Have you noticed? I know I'm not the only one to notice this. Got all these programs, and whether they're run by your state or by the federal agencies and stuff, going to help the underprivileged, all the underprivileged. We're going to help everybody who's underprivileged, which to some degree does do our society something good. However, it's how you do it. It's how you get the money for it. See, because you go after the middle class and maybe the upper middle class, and you tax the shit out of them, which, number one, then you make it to where you can't have anything in this country unless you have credit. So people go into debt up to their eyeballs, you're taxing the shit out of them. It comes time for their kid to go to college. Well, they go and try and get you know, some of that college money. A grant or whatever. Now you have to go get a loan. You're not going to go to school for free. We're going to give free education to these illegals who come in. But your kid, you make too much money. There's always that pay line. That's what I'm getting at. There's always that pay line. It's the same with Obamacare. Oh, you know, everyone's premium's going to go down and all this crap and everything. Mine doubled. From over $400 a month to cover me and my son to over $800 a month. And all the deductibles went sky high too. So I went on the website, hey man, I gotta find cheaper insurance. Guess what? You make too much money. What do you mean I make too much money? Between my bills and now this Obamacare and stuff? What do you mean I make too much money? Between my taxes? You make too much money. See, you're always going to be at that pay line where you're told you make too much money, even though they've taken 20% of your money or more to give to other people. See, if we had that money back. See, I don't think any of us should be paying, yeah, there should be a slight graduated tax rate. And that should start once, you're above the cost of living threshold. Like, you can't make it. Cost of living, I mean, cheaply, you could survive on 12 grand a year. Not in every state, not in every area, but in general, a lot of places you could survive on 12 grand a year. So I don't know what the deduction is now. I think Trump said he was going to raise it, but I think it's like 9 now or something. Personal exemption. And like I said, income tax, federal income tax, why can't we just do it for 40 years? You only pay from 24 to 64. That's it. That gives you a chance to get some money in the bank, all that kind of stuff while you're young. We could even, as far as labor hours and everything, I've talked about that, and then, how we could break up the minimum wage for different categories. We could even have a junior minimum wage, for if you're a kid working in the age of 16 to 18, make that $1 or $2 less than the national minimum wage or whatever, and then make it to where the money they earn, 10% has to go to their college fund, 10% has to go to their medical savings account, 10% has to go to their emergency fund, 10%, whatever. And then you leave them 50% of whatever they're earning. They're only going to be working summertime jobs or whatever, part-time jobs anyway, between 16 and 18. This way they get work experience and they don't get a big head. Hey man, I'm making money. What the hell? What the hell do I need school for? And they don't drop out. Could even have a junior military thing where they stay stateside and, they do all the menial tasks and earn college credits instead of having these, everything's farmed out now. All the meals and all, all that kind of stuff. As far as I know, it still is anyway. They don't have guys pulling KP and peeling potatoes, but there's a lot of creative things we can do to make society better and fairer. But just saying you're going to give everything all the, to the, free this and free that and everything, and you're just going to dig deeper into everybody's pockets is ridiculous. There are creative ways to do things, and you don't have to do everything at once. So, we'll do this first. We'll set the minimum wages, or we'll make it to where tax is only paid between 24 and 64, what have you. We'll straighten out Social Security so we can wean people off of Social Security someday. We'll make it so they can save their own money for their retirement. What else can we do to make medical costs cheaper? Hey, I know. How about all these people who are in gangs and get shot and everything, and then go to the hospital, and all these people on drugs who OD and then they go to the hospital and all this and everything. Make them pay their bills. You ever thought of that? You think when one of these gangbangers is shot and stuff and they cart his ass to the hospital, you think they stop him at the door and ask him if he's got insurance? Hell no. He'll go in there and get fixed up. Probably beat his charges. Or if not, he goes and gets 3 squares in a cot and free medical while he's in the joint. Gets his street cred. Gets back out in 6 months or a year or whatever. Right back out there doing the same shit. Let's start making people who do all this kind of stupid shit pay for their stupid shit. Maybe that'll lower some of the hospital costs. You know how much of the cost is passed on to you because of people who don't pay their bills? Why doesn't that ever come up in the discussion about costs, medical costs? So anyway, I see this self-indulgent society too busy with all kinds of crap, getting more immoral, committing abortions on babies right up to the time of birth. You know, as far as abortion, look, my policy, if I was ever to get that far in 2024, would be in the case of rape, to save the mother's life, and this will be controversial, but if the child was going to be born so handicapped they could never take care of themselves. And I know there's miracle cases of this where, you know, they come out and they're geniuses or whatever, no matter what their physical disabilities are and stuff and everything. But still, even in that case, I think it's up to the parents. If the doctors say, hey, this kid's never going to have a normal life, and the parents are the ones who are going to have to care for that child their whole lives, they're going to be the ones who have to watch that child suffer their whole lives. I think in that case, it's their choice. Just like if a woman's life is in jeopardy, it's her choice. If she's raped, it's her choice. And I know there's a lot of people say, well, they'll lie about everything under the sun. Well, then it's on them. Do you understand that? Then it is on them. But in those cases, if they say, hey, I was raped, or the doctor says, you know, the mother's life is in jeopardy, it's her choice, or the parents don't want to watch their child suffer because of physical disabilities or mental disabilities or whatever that the doctors are sure of, well, we'll have to go and check them doctors and get other doctors and this, and we'll have to check, and we'll have to make sure that's a confirmed rape. And no, it's in that case, it's between the doctors and the parents, or just the mother. And if they lie, if they do anything like that, then it's on them. Society's hands are clean in that case, the way I look at it. You can't make those kind of choices for people in those positions. But abortion as birth control, and all the way up to the 9th month, or even when the child's born, no, that should not be tolerated. It should never be allowed. Because number one, doctors can tell fairly early now if a child is going to be severely disabled, either mentally or physically. A woman knows right away if she's been raped, so that should be no problem getting that done in the first, trimester. So there's no reason for any of that to go 9 months. And if her life is in danger, doctors know that pretty early on now. Now, that should be a woman's choice. And speaking of that, my mother herself was told that if she ever had another child, it would kill her. And then she got pregnant with me. I was the surprise. She opted not to get, an abortion. Which at that time in the 60s would have been extremely hard, I think, anyway. Even if the doctor said, her life was going to be in jeopardy. So it should be the woman's choice in those instances, is where I stand on that. But this whole stuff of, all the way up to the 9th month or even at birth, and then we got all this stuff with the homosexuals telling kids they're not boys or girls, and now all the drugs being made legal, people feeling, hey, they can just go out in the street anytime they're mad. They can go out, and they ain't even mad, half of them. They just got a reason to go and steal. With all that kind of stuff going on, and everything else that can come down the pike, Western civilization is going to decline. And that's why I think one of the early followers of Baha'u'llah said he thought China would be, maybe he had some insight, maybe it was something Baha'u'llah wrote, I don't know. I haven't studied that much, but I do remember the quote, and I can't recall if it was off an official Baha'i site or if it was just a blog or what it was, but that China would be the country of the future. Now, everything else, why, is that I've stated is conjecture on my part. I have no inside line as far as time or why, but that's also just knowing from the Quran, where God says He gives power sometimes to some nations to overrule other nations, or else the whole world would become corrupt. We got great power to overcome Hitler, so he couldn't corrupt it in his fashion and rule the world with his, Aryan supremacy crap. And I guess you could go through all of history and find areas where, even if you read the Bible, the Assyrians and the Egyptians and the Babylonians and this and that, the different wars they had, and even the Israelites taken into captivity because they failed to live up to the standard that was set for them. So, just wanted to give you all that food for thought. It seems more and more every year things that were not socially acceptable even just 10, 15 years ago become socially acceptable. And you just got to wonder what's coming down the pike next. Just amazing. And if Biden gets in, these left wings, you already have it now in schools, even in Texas, where these teachers have sent letters home telling the parents not to tell their children they're boys or girls, because in school they're telling them it's a choice they have to make. And then by the parent telling them they are a boy or a girl because of their genitals is confusing the kids. No, I think I think you're confusing the kids. So, you know, people say, oh, they're going to mass education camps, re-education. They don't have to. They have Hollywood and they have the public education system. They are already re-educating. And I'm telling you, if they keep going, you know, they want you to be like the gray aliens. You're not going to have a gender. You're not going to have individual color or identity. You know, you're going to be a good little slave and do what they tell you. So, you know, and the left, it's hysterical that Antifa, you know, is anti-corporation, anti-fascist, all this and everything, and they're aligned with the left, who is all for the corporations and providing them cheap labor, illegal labor, and everything else, and providing benefits to people through your tax dollars instead of them earning a living wage or companies competing for that labor and providing them with benefits. The left is also against small business, successful small business. So, y'all really need to think about it here in the States, about the future. Get back to the basics. We can find ways to do things if we sit down and think about it and get creative. But once you start subsidizing and say you're putting this policy or that policy, you shut all the other doors. Competition, innovation, you shut all those doors. You shut them all. All right, wish you all the best out there. God bless. Have a good Thanksgiving.